Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of In Conversation by Advisor Coach. Today in conversation, we have a very esteemed guest, Mr. Gaurav Goyal, National Head Sales and Marketing with Canara Robeco Mutual Fund. Gaurav has been a veteran in the industry with over 24 years of experience across banking, life insurance, capital markets, and mutual funds. Welcome, Gaurav, to In Conversation by Advisor Coach.
Thank you so much, Suren. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity and inviting us.
It's such a pleasure to have you, and thank you so much for your time. So, Gaurav, how has it been with the Canara Robeco Mutual Fund in terms of how has the financial year 23-24 been, and what have been some of the key highlights, hits and misses for you in Canara Robeco Mutual Fund?
I think for us, it has been a fantastic year. So if you look at in terms of our asset under management, which is AUM. So we actually in March, if you look at, we were at about 62,000 crores, and still we have time for this financial year. But as of January, we closed at around 86,000 crores. So clearly a 27% overall AUM growth. So that has been good. But I think the more satisfying part is, the way the entire growth is actually across multiple products. So if you look at, our largest fund, which is large and mid-cap fund, that has joined the 20,000 crore club. If you look at, we have our 4 funds, which have joined the 10,000 crore club. So this entire AUM growth is actually spread across, various funds. So that's very satisfying. Even in this financial year, actually, we came out with our multi-cap offering. And again, with the thanks with all the investors and our partners, with their support, we actually collected the highest collection in any equity NFO for us. So that has been a good hit. So overall, I think it is a very, very satisfying year for us, growth year for us. And we still have 40 days to go as far as this financial year is concerned.
Wonderful. I'm sure the financial year 23-24 will end with glorious numbers. So for our viewers, Canara Robeco Mutual Fund has launched their new fund offer of Canara Robeco Manufacturing Fund, which started on February 16th and is closing on the 1st of March. Now, just for the benefit of all, sectoral as well as thematic funds, of course, has got a lot of momentum. If you look at from the March of 2022 until January of 2024, thematic and sectoral funds, AUM's growth, the net assets under management, of course, market valuations included, has grown by 82%. And if you were to look at I'm talking about, of course, the actively managed thematic and sectoral funds. And on the other hand, the actively managed equity funds, not inclusive of the thematic and sectoral funds, the AUM growth has been 63% from March of 22 to January of 2024. If you talk about the number of schemes under the thematic and sectoral funds, the schemes were 117, so I just need some data in terms of, where the AUMs of the thematic and sectoral funds have been from March of 2022 to January of 2024. And of course, the number of schemes from March of 2022 to January 2024 in the thematic and sectoral space has grown from 170 to 117. Apologies for that. So I just wanted to understand as to why did you think of launching a manufacturing fund?
Okay. Yeah, no, thanks for asking that. And I think what we believe, let me just give you some perspectives in terms of at Canara Robeco. We have a very thorough process in terms of when we come out with any new product. So it is just not I think we take pride that we are an asset manager and not AUM gatherer. And therefore, you will see if any fund which is coming in, we have a proper checklist, a proper thought process about coming out with that fund. And clearly, I think we look at whether this is idea which is wealth creation idea, and is it an idea for multiple decades to come, whether it is a scalable idea, and after meeting all those requirements in terms of our internal checklist, then only we come out with that. And when we look at the manufacturing as a theme, so I think what we believe is when you look at from a macro perspective, first aspect is that over since independence, and if you look at the way our GDP components are, so one is of course agriculture, the second is the industry, and the third is services. I think services we made a huge stride, and we, in the last 2 decades, the kind of work which we have done in the service industry, we are the leaders now as far as India is concerned, and that's why India is called the office of the world. uh, from an agriculture perspective, the contribution to the GDP is, of course, on a declining trend. From an industry perspective, if you look at it, it's more or less static, but manufacturing is very low, which is about less than 16% of our GDP. What we believe is that now, from in this entire journey of India, from fifth largest economy to the third largest economy, from a developing country to a developed country, manufacturing will be the engine of this entire growth. And if manufacturing is going to be the engine of this entire growth, this is one mega trend, where profit pools are going to expand, the profit pools are going to multiply, and therefore there is a significant wealth creation opportunity which is going to be available. And that's the reason when we are spotting that opportunity, that it's a mega trend, which we are seeing as far as manufacturing is concerned for India. And that's why we decided to come out, with a dedicated fund which is focused on this entire manufacturing thing.
Very, 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 very valid. I totally agree with you. And of course, the entire China plus one or C plus one is what we talk about. So my next question is that why do you believe that India is the hub for manufacturing?
So I think, yeah, sure. I think if you look at, so today China is the factory of the world. And what we believe is that, okay, India could become the factory of the world. India could be a hub for the manufacturing. And the reason is, if you look at, there are 4 pillars on which we are making this entire investment thesis. So for first aspect, which when you look at in terms of India, is the demographic dividend. So one is, if you look at in the entire demographics, I think we all know that the world is aging, India is the young country. When there is a slowdown as far as the growth is concerned in the entire world, and then India is the fastest growing economy, in the entire world.
True.
Now, the distinctive part about this entire demographic is that right now, not only that we are the most populous country, we have the largest human resources on this planet, but apart from it, that the average median age, when you look at of the entire country, is 29 years. Okay, if you look at in terms of our entire breakup, of 72% of our population is in the working age category. Okay, if you look at from a global perspective also, 20% of the entire global workforce today is in India. So from a demographic perspective and, from a labor force perspective, there is abundance of labor which is available today, which can be employed in the manufacturing. The jobs can be created and there are people, which are available. The second aspect, when you look at in terms of the huge population which we have and the young population, so it's a consuming economy, and so any production which is happening in India, there is a strong domestic demand which is already available. So of course the net export is another big theme, but domestic demand is, there is enough domestic demand which is available for all the manufactured products which are going to be there. And the third aspect, when you look at from an India perspective of this subcomponent, is the entire rise in the per capita income. And clearly you can see that, okay, with this rising per capita income, so definitely people have more money to consume the manufactured products. They are becoming much more aspirational, and that is getting reflected, whether it is in terms of the entire premiumization which is happening, whether, it is in AC, refrigerators, or, even in our automobiles, that you have more SUVs which are getting sold than the individual cars. So clearly, I think that income level, rising income level is also very, very supportive of that entire manufacturing theme. So that is the first pillar. The second pillar, when you look at in terms of the manufacturing, is our policy reforms which is happening, and the kind of initiatives which government has taken. So right from production link incentives, Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, I think all those kind of policy initiatives are really helping now, promoting this entire, manufacturing, theme, and, as a mega trend. And that's the reason there's a lot of confidence which has been built in of the domestic corporates, and there is a lot of confidence which has been built of, the offshore corporates, and that's why all those companies are coming, corporations are coming in, setting up the manufacturing here. Also, from a policy perspective, you look at in terms of the corporate taxation. So we are very, very competitive now. The corporate taxes have been reduced, and the entire Asia now, we are very, very competitive in terms of the taxation structure. So all those are, helping in terms of the ease of doing business for all the corporates. And that's the reason the kind of FDI flows which are coming, which are in India, has, increased manyfold in the last few years. The third pillar, if you look at which is supporting in terms of the entire capex which the government is doing. So logistic is extremely important when you look at the manufacturing. And I think in the past, our logistic cost has been very high, and that has been very deterrent, in terms of supporting the manufacturing sector. And if you look at in terms of what's happening all across, so if you look at the kind of capex spend which has been there with the government, so today we had the second largest network of the roads. Today we have the fourth largest network of the railways. Today, if you look at in terms of the way the new ports are getting constructed and large, size of the ports which are being there, I think we are, there is a huge infrastructure at the seaport which is available. In terms of the number of airports, if you look at, we have doubled in the last few years, so about 146 as of now, and it is expected to cross 200. So you look at any connectivity, whether it is road, railways, port, or airways, they are dedicated corridors, freight corridors which are getting built in, industrial corridors which are getting built in. So there is a huge transformation which is happening because of this entire infrastructure capex, and that is very, very positive because the logistic cost is going to come down drastically, and it is coming down, and that is very, very supportive of the manufacturing sector. And the fourth pillar too is the geopolitics. So I think when you look at in the post-COVID world, particularly, I think the global companies have that realization that they need to diversify their manufacturing bases from China. And the China plus one strategy, which you also mentioned, I think is playing out. India is one of the beneficiaries. There are a lot of other countries which are beneficiary of it. India is one of the beneficiaries, but I think that opportunity is so huge and India is well poised to really capitalize on that entire China plus one strategy, which is helping in terms of getting the FDI, and which will also help us in terms of our net exports. And that's the reason, if you look at companies like Apple, for example, in this year, they are expected to cross $10 billion of exports as far as the mobile phone is concerned, and which they want to take it to $100 billion. So it's 10x from where they are today. And that's the kind of opportunity which is emerging. So these are the four pillars, and if I have to look at the four drivers of what we believe is we are going to capture as far as manufacturing theme is concerned, and that's the reason that we believe that India has all the ingredients to become the factory of the world in the next few years.
Very, very insightful. A lot of data points, Gaurav, you've given, and I think these data points are a must to note with the India growth story coming up. And no wonder, as I always call it, that there's a lot of global image premium which India attracts because of this. And the aspirational demands in India, are yet far from getting achieved. And of course, from a 2,000 US dollars, the GDP per capita moving to 4,000 by 2030. I'm talking about GDP per capita. Of course, you can imagine the kind of demand and employment which will, which will get created in the times to come here. So very, very good data points you gave. So one question, why should investors and, consider, or distributors consider, investing in the manufacturing fund of Robeco?
No, I think one is, of course, that entire mega trend, which I talked about, correct. Now, if it is one of the biggest wealth creation opportunity as an investor and as a distributor, I will be able to take benefit if I ride on that and, get into that mega trend as of now. The second, I think, Suren, very interesting. If you look at the entire equity industry, is about 23 lakh crore. If you look at in terms of the dedicated manufacturing funds AUM, which is less than 10,000 crore. So net, when we look at in terms of an investor portfolio perspective, they are actually underallocated to this entire theme. And therefore, there is a very strong reason that that allocation should increase significantly. So they should consider, because if this is the growth engine, for India, and if manufacturing is going to grow from 16% contribution to 25% contribution, definitely the companies which are there in the manufacturing and the allied sector, the profit pools are going to expand. If their profit pools are going to expand, then definitely it will get reflected in the share prices, and therefore it's very important to have meaningful allocation, in those companies, which this fund, a dedicated manufacturing fund, will be able to provide. Net, also when you look at this entire manufacturing fund, it's a very complementary theme, because what we are talking about, when we look at the Canara Robeco Manufacturing Fund, it's basically non-IT, non-BFSI, non-services.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Now, most of our diversified funds, when you look at, and our investors, when they have taken allocations to diversified funds, predominantly 50% is BFSI, IT, and service sector. So I think from that perspective also, it's a very complementary theme that apart from a diversified fund, this can be actually offered as a core strategy as part of, as a combo, which will give them exposure to, dedicated way in a non-IT, non-BFSI sector.
Sure. And very rightly, and in fact, if I am right and correct on that, there are about 3 actively managed manufacturing funds as we talk, and 2 on the passive side. So there's clearly a space for an actively managed manufacturing fund to fit in there with this entire, wonderful data points and the great story which you have just mentioned all about. Could you also tell us something about the portfolio construction strategy around this fund as well, please?
Yeah, so I think we will be looking, as far as this fund is concerned, it's going to be a flexi cap diversified fund. So will have both in terms of market cap perspective, large cap companies, mid cap companies, and small cap companies. And of course, I think the universe is also very, very large for us when we look at in terms of the companies which are under active research. So out of 335 companies, we have about 227 companies which are actually qualifying for the manufacturing sector. So it's a very wide universe which is available for the fund manager to take the best of the stories, and of course we will take the best of the companies where we believe that we have very strong momentum in terms of the earning growth. But again, it will be like a flexi cap, large cap, mid cap, small cap, all market caps, and 40 to 60 stock kind of portfolio. So very well diversified portfolios and best of the manufacturing stories in this one.
Wonderful. Interestingly, you have launched some 2 very good features, the auto switch and the smart STP, for the benefits of the investors. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I think these are some of, I would say, in terms of solutions to the customer challenges and the problems. And if you look at in terms of auto switch, I think a lot of feedback which came in from the investors while the NFO is open for 2 weeks. Some people tend to wait to invest on the last day because they say that, okay, my money at least is earning some interest in the savings account in the bank, so let it earn, and then I will actually.
Yeah, that's a very, very typical thought process.
Typical thought process. So what we came out as a solution is that, okay, yes, you can invest right from day one. And in auto switch, what happens is that, okay, that money when you invest will get parked in any of the fixed income debt funds of your choice, so that for the next 2 weeks you actually earn the return of that particular debt fund. And then on the last day of the NFO, there is an automatic switch which happens to this NFO. So clearly, it's a win-win situation. Win-win situation for the partner because for the investor, because he doesn't need to wait, and he can just invest through this auto switch, and even can go for holidays. It will be taken care of automatically. Switch will happen, of course, for partners, because again, for these 2 weeks, whatever the fixed income fund which the investors have chosen, they get the revenue which is available there, and then for the AMC also, because then we need not to wait for the last day, and then we can manage all those applications very well. The smart STP is again a very interesting feature which we have introduced, and there are a lot of investors, for their own reasons, they are typically some investors who says that, okay, I want to invest when the fund becomes open-ended. Okay, there are certain set of investors who says that, okay, no, I want to stagger my investment because I don't want to invest their entire 100 rupees in one shot. So for those kind of investors, what we have done is that we have introduced this smart STP, and therefore what it enables is that as an investor, you can invest 100 rupees. Out of that 100 rupees, only 25 rupees will get invested into this manufacturing NFO. Rest 75 rupees will get invested over a period of 3 installments in 3 months. So you get the staggered investment. Even also the investors, those who want to invest when the fund is becoming open-ended, it's only 25 rupees which is getting in the NFO, and then 75 rupees over a period of 3 months. So these are 2 features which we have introduced in this NFO, which partners can take it to their clients and take the benefit of.
Yeah, certainly very, very interesting. And the smart STP, of course, is a winning stroke here, I must say. So what has been your coverage strategy, marketing, for this fund, for your distribution partners?
So of course, I think we understand that, okay, there's a lot of awareness which we need to create as far as this category is concerned and this theme is concerned, because these are very initial stages at this point of time. And like any category, when you introduce at the initial stage, there's a lot of work which is required to be done. So we are conscious of that responsibility. And therefore, what we did is that we launched a very massive Connect program, which is on ground initiative. So we actually started with a Bharat Yatra a few weeks back and covered 75 locations across the country. So that was the physical reach out which we did. And then of course the senior leadership team, the investment team, all combinedly, we all of us covered those 75 locations, meeting the partners and kind of giving them our insights in terms of why do we believe that manufacturing is a mega trend and they must include that as part of their core allocation. And then of course we are using the digital medium. We have been using our webinars with our partners to explain them in terms of what this fund is all about, what theme which we are talking about, our investment strategy, and so on and so forth. But I think it is very heartening to share with you that what we have done is that it's not only in English that we have been doing it, also in Hindi we have actually introduced our webinar so that we are able to connect. And in fact, it was very heartening that we had more participants in the Hindi webinar than the English webinar. So clearly I think that talks about in terms of what our partners are voices and the kind of requirement which we have. So we have walked that path. From a marketing collateral perspective, I think to all our partners we have provided all the marketing collaterals, whether it is in terms of presentation, co-branded presentations, co-branded one-pagers, flyers, videos. And I think most heartening is that we have provided them and is available in 7 vernacular languages so that they can actually speak to their investors, and they can reach out to their investors and can to talk to them in their language. And I think that is something which we were getting feedback and we could implement that as far as this manufacturing is concerned. So I hope that that could be something which all our partners, and I would urge through you to use all those collaterals which are available in 7 vernacular languages to take it to their investors.
Absolutely. So I think my message to the distribution partners who will be viewing this in conversation with Gaurav, 7 vernacular languages, I think this is definitely a very, very good win. So Gaurav, if you could just give our viewers some insight about your sales team size, your number of branches, what are your expansion plans for Canara Mutual Fund? Are you looking at, opening more branches across the country, or are you looking at more phygital manner to grow?
So I think, as you rightly said, I think from a Canara Robeco perspective, I think we are, present at most of the significant locations, and it is like a lot of locations where we are not there. It is like a hub and spoke model where we are reaching out to the partners. And I think in the post-COVID world, it's not only the physical world, as you rightly said, it is a phygital world. So I think phygital is our strategy, and both using the physical mode and the digital mode, we are reaching out to the partners, connecting with them, helping them, explaining them about what we believe in terms of our investment strategy, what our investment process is, about the products, and taking that initiative forward. And that's the way we have been kind of expanding and reaching out to all our partners and investors.
Sure. And what are some of the new initiatives which you've taken in training distributors, or maximizing your reach and connecting much more with them?
So I think while 2-3 initiatives which I can refer to, and I think some of them been recently started. And while we understand that from an industry perspective, there are a lot of training initiatives already at the industry, so there is a repetition, too much of the repetition. So we have to be very conscious about in terms of initiatives which you take, are they adding value to all your partners?
True.
And when we look at those aspects, so one initiative which we started was, we understood that there's a lot of partners face challenges in terms of understanding of whatever is even K FinTech is sending, or the RTs are sending, and there's a lot of information which is available there, but a lot of partners need some kind of handholding in terms of understanding, even for a simple brokerage statement, how many things are captured there, what kind of informations are captured. So what we have done is that we have started an initiative with K FinTech, and we have been talking to our partners in terms of what kind of capabilities, what kind of resources which are available there. So that is more of a awareness initiative. And also we are taking that opportunity to talk about some of those initiatives which we are taking from a servicing perspective to to help our partners. And also those sessions are opportunities for us to get the feed forward from all our partners. So that is one, initiative from a service perspective in terms of how we can help them, is which we have taken. The second initiative which we have taken is, and which is in a pilot stage right now, is initiative which we have launched as a Smart MFD Pro. And in that initiative, what we are providing is a dedicated mobile platform to all our partners. Through that mobile platform, and that's a wonderful marketing and communication platform, where using that they can use co-branded collaterals, they can use co-branded materials which are available, and there is an integration with the social media which is also possible. So as a distributor, then automatically, if the distributor agrees for it, that system has a capability that it will be able to integrate it with the social media, and therefore the reach of the partners can actually go manifold, through that. So it is simplifying their entire communication, reaching out to them. So that is one Smart MFD Pro, which is happening, which also helps them in terms of their entire lead management with the investor, tracking in terms of what's happening with the customer. So their entire sales and marketing, perspective, which is there, because of course you have transactional platforms, but when you look at in terms of a CRM, or when you look at in terms of the marketing enablers, I think that is one gap which we thought is there. So definitely it helps in terms of their business development. The third initiative which we launched was in terms of, while when you look at, and I think Suren, you and me have been part of the industry for more than 2 decades now, and we have seen in our timelines that, and when I in 2000, if you look at the industry size was 1 lakh crore, and in our lifetimes we have seen the industry growing 50 times, correct? And so all these distributors, now it is very important that in the next 25 years, which is an Amrit Kal period for us, definitely the growth is going to be much, much, much bigger. And so what we realize is that, okay, are the partners prepared for it? Correct. And definitely there is a different kind of mindset which is required. There is a different kind of, from a business perspective, you need to prepare, you need to invest into your business to be prepared for that kind of growth. So it is not about in terms of whether you will grow or not. The question is that, okay, whether you're prepared for that growth. And therefore, what we have been doing is that we have been doing some training session, which we call as Amrit Kal MFD, and how to grow 50x in this entire period. And in that we talk about different aspects, right from customer segmentation to in terms of business processes to mentorship, and the various aspects which we touch base on. The idea is to spark that thought. The idea is to share those perspectives with them, so that they can invest and they can look at business not from from an incremental perspective, but see it from a perspective of what that business will require 10x, 20x, and 30x from from a growth perspective. So those are 3 initiatives which I can share with you that which we have taken, and as we go along and we take the feedback, we'll continue to strengthen.
No, brilliant to hear them. And I think as we handled our mutual fund distributors more in terms of showing them the path, in terms of how their business growth is there, I think it's wonderful, because that's how the entire industry will grow together as well.
Correct.
Could you also tell our viewers, something about your investment management team, and particularly who will be managing this fund?
Okay, yeah, sure. No, I think from a Canara Robeco perspective and investment team perspective, particularly, before if I shared with that, so I just want to share with all your viewers also, and all the partners, that I'm sure all of you are aware that Canara Robeco is actually the second oldest AMC, in the entire country. And by the virtue of that, if you look at what a significant value proposition which Canara Robeco offers to all our partners is that with the kind of vintage which we have as far as the funds are concerned, so which had very few players can actually talk about in terms of the kind of vintage which is there. So if you look at we have 24 funds, Suren. 12 on the equity side and 12 on the fixed income side. Of course, manufacturing will be the 25th one. And you will be happy to know that there are 17 funds which have a track record and a vintage of more than 10 years.
Wow.
So which is, a very, very significant stride. So when any partner actually offers a Canara Robeco to any investor, I think what they can be rest assured is that all those funds have actually seen the cycles. And it is very, very important that whether the funds have only seen the growth cycle or they have seen, all those market cycles. So from that perspective, I think that is one very distinctive aspect of Canara Robeco funds. The second, from an investment team perspective, I think we have a very experienced team, and collectively, I think both equity and fixed income, we have more than 20 team member investment team, which has been there. If you look at and so collectively more than about 350 years of investment experience across this entire investment team. Of course, the fixed income team is led by Mr. Avnish Jain, again an industry veteran, and the equity team is led by Mr. Sridatta, again an industry veteran.
Wonderful. And
yeah. So, and this fund, sorry, you asked also.
Yeah.
This fund will be managed by Mr. Pranav Gokhale and Mr. Sridatta. So, Mr. Pranav Gokhale again has experience of more than 20 years in the industry. I think the distinctive aspect for both Pranav and Sri is that they started as an infrastructure analyst. So clearly, I think they have a very deep understanding as far as this sector is concerned. Mr. Pranav Gokhale also manages our mid cap and small cap, and he's also a co-fund manager in the flexi cap.
Great. Through this in conversation, what message would you like to give to investors, particularly when the markets are at a high point, and of course to their asset allocation process and to the distributors as well?
No, I think at any point of time, and particularly I think the COVID movement, everybody who has understood the importance of the asset allocation. So I think clearly a lot of people have not practiced it, but that importance, many times during all those events, we realize the importance of the asset allocation. So that is extremely significantly important. Definitely, from a lot of times, from an investor aspect, there could be a lot of push for getting over invested into some of those product categories where you will see much higher returns. But definitely I think as a partner, it is very important that we handhold them and educate all our investors in terms of why it is important to have an asset allocation. So I think that is something which is very, very important. Since we are in the midst of a manufacturing fund, I think from an asset allocation perspective also, what I believe is that I would request through you all our partners to have that attention towards this entire manufacturing theme, because this is completely under allocated as far as allocations are concerned. And this is one mega trend, and you take any mega trend, Suren, I think when you look at in terms of banking, for example, when it started as a trend, I think those who actually ride on the trend early have been the biggest beneficiary. If you look at IT as a theme and as a mega trend, I think those who started right early with the IT team have been beneficiary. I think we believe manufacturing also, those partners who will get their investors allocated into this manufacturing theme and mega trend early on will be the biggest beneficiary. So I think as an asset allocator, it is also very important that how do you spot those emerging opportunities, and manufacturing is one that mega trend opportunity which is there before us. I would request all the partners to consider that. Not only from a mega trend perspective, but also from an asset allocation perspective, because customers and investors are completely grossly underallocated through our diversified funds.
Sure. Thank you very much, Gaurav. In fact, today's conversation has been very insightful. The kind of data points which you've given, about the product, of course, about the economy, as to how it's will be blossoming going forward ahead. And of course, your plans in terms of Canara Robeco Mutual Fund, the expansion plans, the thought process, the initiatives which you've taken, they've been very, very valuable. So from Team Advisor Coach, we wish you and Canara Robeco Mutual Fund the very, very best for your Canara Robeco Manufacturing Fund NFO, which closes on the 1st of March. And thank you so much for joining for In Conversation by Advisor Coach today.
Pleasure is all ours, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you. Bye-bye.